So when I opened the door like this, because this couch where Esther was sleeping was like somewhere there. So when I opened the door like this, Esther had no pant. Her thighs were wide open, and my husband was sitting somewhere there. So when I opened, I took her and closed her thighs. I didn't speak. To her, I addressed my husband. And I asked him, what the hell are you doing here? And he said, and he was closing his eyes like this. And he said, I'm listening to music. I'm like, He said, I'm going to the loo to pee. If I find you there, you'll tell me what you're doing here. And then he picks himself again, coming for me. I'm still sitting. I don't even know why he's running. My son stands up again. Our son holds him again. And this time walks with, like they are struggling, but takes him to the corridor and pins him on the wall. And then my son is saying to me, Mama, toka uende. Nilikuambia huyu mtu atakuua. I'm Atieno Olang. I'm a musician. I'm a content creator on YouTube. I'm a mother of 4. My story begins 20 years ago. I fell in love at the age of 18, and it was like the most beautiful feeling with butterflies, name it. And 15 years down the line, living an abusive and toxic marriage with nothing but my 4 children. Everything I worked hard for, given to another woman. But in spite of all that, I am at peace. And I am happy as I found relationship with myself and with God. I was brought up in a church. And I had my life planned. And it has nothing to do with the church, really. I am one of those kids who knew what they want in life. And honor was very important for me. And for me, it was about keeping my honor, which keeping my virginity until the day I was going to get married. That was my plan. And I was determined to see it through. I didn't date in high school. I didn't even know why people wanted to date in high school. People did date in my high school, but I didn't. But when I finished my O-levels, my mom was in Mombasa. Things had just gotten up and down. And one of my friends, whom I used to stay in their house, because our home now, we had to move from Milimani where we used to stay, and we'd live in a village. Beautiful home, but it's a village nonetheless. The distance is very long. And this time my parents can't afford fuel. Mama and the other kids, my siblings, are basically in Mombasa. So I would stay with my friend, you see. And my friend, her mom, used to work in a deal with the oil. And you'd find most of these people in their house. So whenever we go to their place, there were people in their house. And there was this specific man that she kept on telling me, oh, he likes you so much. Why don't you date him? His name is so-and-so. It's like my boyfriend. At that age, I see men with bellies running all over the place. So I really wasn't for it. But she kept on insisting. So that particular time, we were from swimming, my friend and my other 3 friends. So we were actually 4 girls. And this guy was driving a Pajero. I think that was among the biggest cab at that time. And he stops and he says, hi girls. And we say hi. And he says, kindly can I drop you guys? Because we were from swimming. And the girls were like, my other friend was like, yeah. But I'm like, we don't need it. But she's like, she insists. So we basically get the lift. And he asked me, where can I take you? I tell him, I live very, very far. He says, there's no problem. Even if it's in Nairobi, I will take you. So we reach home. My father, now this is my father who brought me up, Mr. Olang. He's a very quiet man. I say he's a gentleman, a very gentleman. And they get to talk, and he gets to ask him if he can take me out. And my dad looks at me and says, well, if she's okay with it, then, you know. So we go to town, we go back to town from the village, and here we are at Nyanza Club. You see, he's parked his car. He said he was 33 years old. For me, that was old. And he's walking out, and I'm saying, oh my God, you stay in Nyanza Club? And he's like, yes, you mean there are rooms here? Like, you can come check it out. I'm like, it's okay. He said, no, come on, just come check it out. There's no problem. I'm like, cool. Yeah. So I enter in the room, and it starts with the bathroom, because the bathroom, when you enter, the bathroom was on the left side. So as I check it, he just goes and he locks the door. I still don't feel like there's anything wrong with it. I don't see anything wrong with it. You can close the door, okay, you know. So I check the room, and he shows me the balcony where you can see the lake. You can see the lake. And when I come back, he is all over me. He says how much he loves me and blah, blah, blah. And I think the first thing I start to think is, how am I getting out of this situation? And I feel like, okay, you know what? This is a man. The door is locked. So it is not about strength anymore. And I don't say he's aggressive. No, I don't say that. But he starts pulling everything off, and he's talking all the sweet words. They don't really come sweet. But he's a man. I have not been with a man, not in that compromising situation. And he tries to penetrate, and it's very painful. So I end up moving, and he's coming after, and I come off, and I go on the next bed. Before I notice, the whole place was bloody, and we didn't go for any dinner. We didn't go for any dinner. We slept there. And the following morning, the workers came in, and the entire Nyanza Club knew that Olang's young daughter has just been deflowered. I blamed myself. I did blame myself. I told myself that, first of all, if I tell someone about this, they will say I knew what I was doing, because how did I enter this man's room? I was in his room. That was his room. And I wasn't a stupid young girl. I read, I research everything, and I knew you don't get in a man's room. So I knew, first of all, I was in a compromising place, and people will dismiss me. And I had the fear of that, yeah? So I was broken, and I didn't tell anyone. So my mom comes, and we moved to Mombasa, because she felt I couldn't be there alone anymore. Something can happen to me. And I reach in Mombasa, and I don't know, I basically don't know anything. It's hot. Mombasa is hot, it's unfriendly. I had studied in Mombasa previously before that. There's a gap there where I studied. I did my year 8 there. But this was different, okay? Everything was different, everything had changed. And my mom introduces me to her friend's daughter, who is my age mate. We go to town. This is evening, it's night, and we keep on walking. So we walk, and we reach somewhere in Casablanca. Casablanca still is in town on your way to Pembembili. Pembendovu, I don't know. And we're standing there. Then there's a Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes-Benz is driving, and my friend is saying that, Hope, they're calling for you, because she had gone. Then I'm like, oh, why? What do they want? No, just go see. So I go, and I bend, because, you know, the car is low, so I have to go a little bit lower. And I'm like, hi, can I help you? And there were these Swahili people, Swahili men, 2, sitting. And one of them reaches my breast and grabs. Oh my God. I gave him a slap of his life. He was so startled by this. And before he could understand what was happening, I was on him. I was asking him, you're so mannerless. What is wrong with you? How can you grab? And they drove so fast. And I went back to my friend, I'm like, and she was laughing, like she was dying with laughter. And it took me the longest time until I was telling my sister this story. Then my sister told me that, Hope, you were just doing what we call street parking. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, that was street parking. I'm like, hell to the no. Yeah, but I guess I did. That's what it was, you know. So this was really new for me. So anyway, so I start with a band, and I get my first band, which is a 2-piece, and it was amazing. And my repertoire went real fast. I was singing everything, Titanic. You know, music is a love of my life, and I was doing it. And my first boss was a blind guy, and he was fantastic. He taught me how to hold my microphone professionally, how to work on my songs. Now I was living my life at this point. But then again, I started looking for a big band because the pay was little, and I was the one helping my mom at this particular time. And I felt, okay, I need someone who can pay me a little bit more. So I got my first band, and that was Simba 6. Now that is my first big band. The small band was called Twin Tunes. My first big band was Simba 6. Now I am working with Simba 6. It is a big setup. There are drums, and I'm like, wow. You know, at that particular time when you start music, it's not even about money. It's about singing. Yeah, then you realize actually you need money. Okay, so we go to the practice room, and our porter, who is the technician also, the nephew is around, right? And he actually chit-chat kidogo na mimi hapo, tunaongea. Then I think he asked me to go see something, I don't know. So I open the van and I go out. And when I walk to go see whatever he wanted me to see, I can't remember, it's a long time. And he goes, wow, you know, he does that. So anyway, he becomes my very good friend who follows me practically everywhere, who listens to all my stories, may they be boring, supports it, you know. And before I knew it, somewhere along the line, I was expecting our first child. When I was pregnant with my son, at 5 months, I started to collapse. I was fainting, meaning I didn't work. From 5 months to end of it, I didn't work. I remember even when I was 9 months, when I was pregnant, like around 8 months, I delivered my son on several occasions. I was so hungry. There was no food. I would go to the kibanda and pretend I'm in labor so they can give me transport to go to where? To the hospital. Then I would just use another road and go buy food. But by that time, he really was, honestly, whenever he was working, he would come in and bring something. But it wasn't that much often. He didn't have a job. This was the problem. He was 6 years older than I, but he did not know. I think he did not know what to do with his life. At that particular time, he was still trying to figure himself out. And he told me he wanted to make soap. So I looked for money. He bought the things he needed, and he was making neem soap, sabuni ya marubaini. And he was going to sell them in Nairobi. So we made lots of cartons of them. I helped him pack. We are young and, you know, very hopeful. And I'm happy for him, you know. So he leaves for Nairobi. He's coming to sell his soap. And he comes back. We are very broke at that time. And I'm so happy to see him. I'm like, oh my God, at least now there's money. We could buy something. And he comes with a story that he has supplied the soap. The money is coming afterwards. So anyway, the soap story ended up there because I never saw any money. It never came. I didn't follow up. And I didn't also want to stress him because I felt he was stressed enough. So in between here, things were not going well with my work. I was trying to get something better that can work because if I'm working and I feel like my son is not feeding well, that was a problem for me. So in between there, I got a different job and I told him we need to move out of here now. I cannot do this job anymore. It's not working. it's not providing well, you know. So we move out, and somewhere in between there, we are expecting our second child. Before I know it, we have our third born. Yeah. You know, for me, I was in this relationship to the end. And I believed he was doing his best. And I believed that things were going to work out. As much as even my mom was like really having, what is going on here? But I had faith in him. That's what I believed. I believed this is marriage. And in marriage, you become a support system, and you don't leave someone or put them down because, you know, they cannot hold a job for too long or something like that. So I just felt like maybe the world was against him for that particular moment, but things will be better. Yeah, so my husband now starts getting a good job, and now he's earning, and we still have our 3 children, and things are good. So I talk to him and I tell him, why don't you go back to school? Because I was already, at that particular time, I was now having also a good job. I was playing with a good band. We were having lots of work. And basically, I've been paying bills throughout. So I asked him to go and get more education, major in something, so that when he finishes, I can also major. So I thought that if I say I major first, he might take an offense to it. So I said, why don't you do it first? But he took it as an insult. He didn't really like it. So that didn't take place, okay? And at this particular time, he started going to the disco. We were not disco people, really. And because we were working, we have to alternate. Like, if he leaves early, he must come back to the kids. You cannot trust a house manager with the kids full time. And also, I'm leaving for work at that particular time. So he'd have friends that he met that he has to go out with, and I understood, you know, if it is something that is helping him in his career-wise or something like that, and I felt like, okay, it's okay. And I trusted him, completely trusted him. I didn't have any issues with him. This thing went on where he is now going out in a disco and coming out late. He comes back very late, but I didn't question it either. One day, I needed to use his phone to call my mom because my phone had been stolen. I had a small salon just outside the gate, and my phone had been stolen. So he told me, no, just take the phone and call your mom. And as I took his phone to call my mom, apparently there was a message. The message just came in when I was holding the phone. And I remember the message very well, how it read. The message said, hi honey, unajua nimekuwa mgonjwa sana. Ukikuja uniletee vanilla yogurt. It had something like that because I think what really pissed me off was the vanilla yogurt part. Because this man has never brought vanilla yogurt to my children, leave alone me. And I asked him, what is this? So I think that was the first time I started thinking there's something very wrong here. Though he said, no, this is just a friend and, you know, all this and all that. Yeah. So that was the first time. The second one was when I was coming from my gate. I'm from work at night and I'm walking in. We had 2 doors. So the last door, he pops his head out. I'm still from the gate, a little distance coming in. And he pops his head and he tells me, kwani hawezi kupiga simu kama unakuja? Then he enters back in and I'm asking myself, why should I call when I'm coming in my own house? So we used to use the back door when you're getting in. They're all in the same line, but that is like the back. This is the living room one. So I go in and he's closed the door for me. Hiya. So I knock. I'm like, hey, open for me. Later on comes and open again. So at this time, I'm tired. I'm not thinking much really of what is happening. So I pass because this was just a 1-bedroom house. So this was like the the toilet and the laundry room. Then the kitchen was big. Then the living room and our bedroom. The kids were sleeping in the living room, and our house lady was sleeping here in the kitchen because there was a big space. She keeps her things there. So I pass her also as I'm going, and amejifunika mpaka kichwa. So me, I go to the room and I come back to shower and sleep. So anyway, the following day, the lady tells me, I'm leaving work. So I'm like, oh, without any notice, is anything wrong? No, I'm leaving work. I'm like, that's okay. So why don't you come and pick up your money end month? Because right now I don't have money for paying. Because I was even paying my ladies also. So she leaves. I don't know why she has left. I don't know why she's mad. I don't know, because hatujagombana kitu yoyote, anything like that. So me, I just leave it like that. One day, my husband comes to tell me a very weird story. Now, this time we have a house manager called Esther. Esther was a very lively girl. And he's telling me, do I know what is happening? So I'm like, what is happening? Oh, Esther is being seen, being taken to some house somewhere, and some man is sleeping with him there. With her, there. And I'm like, oh, but that is her life. If she wants to be, engaging in that, it is during her off time. I mean, it does not concern me at all, you see? So I sweep this under the carpet, and I'm like, you know what? This is none of my business. So later on, there's a friend of mine, Mama Bruno, comes to visit me. She used to be my old neighbor. So she comes to visit me, we talk, we're happy, and she tells me something, and she tells me, Hope, do you know this husband of yours and my husband had been doing some very weird things before? And when she tells me a particular story, I relate it to his story and a story he had given me before. And I say like, okay, so this is how he handles the things. He goes and does something, comes and says someone is doing it, and tells it to me. But I was quiet still. I was just very calm about it. Then there was a lady, she was a bit older than I, almost my mom's age mate. She really loved me so much, Mama Purity. And she had a kiosk from Boga. She really loved me. And we were in a chama together. And one day she called me. And she told me, Hope, people are wondering how you can live with trash. I'm like, what is trash? Then he says, they call your husband trash. And I said, why are they calling him that? And they said, it is being said that he sleeps with your house helps. I'm like, no, he doesn't. Like, yes, it is being said. I don't know. You know your husband better. So she tells me. At first I'm like, no. He sleeps with house helps. I don't think so. So Esther ends up being pregnant. She's vomiting. She is sick. At first we think it's malaria, but this thing is continuing. So one day I'm from work, and I'm in the room. I'm sleeping. My husband is in the living room playing music, and he's not coming to the room. So I feel like going to the restroom, and I have to pass the living room. Esther is sick. Esther now is sleeping on a couch because apparently she's feeling so sick. She can't sleep where she used to sleep before. Now I opened the door without Esther knowing I was opening the door, because nobody knew I was going to wake up, definitely. So when I opened the door like this, because this couch where Esther was sleeping was like somewhere there. So when I opened the door like this, Esther had no pant. Her thighs were wide open. And my husband was sitting somewhere there. So when I opened, I took her and closed her thighs. I didn't speak. To her, I addressed my husband. And I asked him, what the hell are you doing here? And he said, and he was closing his eyes like this. And he said, I'm listening to music. I'm like, I said, I'm going to the loo to pee. If I find you there, you'll tell me what you're doing here, really. So I went to the loo. Coming back, he wasn't there. He was in the bedroom sleeping. The following day, I dismissed Esther. I told her to go to the hospital because I don't run clearly a facility that can help her case at this particular moment. So Esther left. Around months later, when we were sitting with my husband, we were doing something. We were just sitting down on a carpet. A lady stood right in front of us because we had our grill doors. And it took us time to know we were talking to Esther because she was thin, very thin. And, as she was talking, I was looking at her. Then I said, Esther, is this you? And she says, yes, Mama, ni mimi. I'm like, how are you? She says, I'm fine. Come in. She said, no, Mama. I just came to see if I can get the balance I had left. And I said, yeah, how much was it? So she reminded me. And I told her, please come on Friday. I will handle something for you. And I told her, Esther, how is the baby doing? And Esther said, Mama, I had lots of problems. I wasn't sitting alone. My husband was next to me. The entire time my husband, the jaw dropped, and he was like this. He was like, his lips dried up. And I guessed, I looked at him just for a moment and continued to talk with Esther. And I asked Esther what happened. He said, nilipata shida sana. I had a stillbirth. The baby died in my stomach and affected my urine. So I think that was like fistula. And she comes from a very poor family. They could not help. She was taken to Kenyatta Hospital. And after being treated, their people couldn't pay. So she stayed also for a long time in the hospital. I said, I'm very sorry. I did not know. I'm very, very sorry. She said, yes, that's what happened to me. And I asked Esther, Esther, would you like to resume your work? She jumped. No, Mama. No. Thank you very much. I found somewhere else. I'm like, are you sure? Like, yeah. I said, okay, fine. You come on Friday. It was nice to see you. So when Esther left, the first thing that my husband said, hiyo ni njaa. Ukambani kuna njaa. And I looked at him and I said, didn't you hear what that girl just said? No, in Ukambani there's no food. It's dry. That cannot be HIV/AIDS. And I knew that was his child. And I didn't get it. I didn't address it, but I didn't get it. Like, did you hear what she said? I kept on asking him. This girl went through so much. So that was just one of the very many incidents that took place with my husband and the house girls. After this, I think his behavior for cheating got too much for me. It reaches a point where he leaves house that is going to get something, money for us, and he spends the night out, and he comes up with a crazy story like he was fixing a house in town, things like that. There's a time I left, and he convinced me to come back, and we're starting over again. And when he realized now I am back and everything, he started to really torment me. And I remember he was beating me black and blue and choking me. And it was so bad that he would come for my neck and my face. And I remember this one time, it was about our daughter who wanted to go to school and the tie was missing. And I said, she's getting late, let her go, I will look for the tie. And I closed the door and I was beaten almost to death. And I remember I ran to the room and I coiled myself on the bed and I had my hands like this. And he came and I whispered and I said, please, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. And he said, it's okay. He reached out and he was like patting me. I couldn't say, go away, because I was even scared. And he said, no, it's okay. Then I asked him. I wasn't looking at him still. I asked him, why did you beat me? And he said, I don't know why, but I'm sorry. When I lifted my head up, he had his phone and he was recording me and he was smiling. And I did not understand what that was. From that point, he started sleeping out every day, shamelessly. He would do the walk of shame very happily. And he would rape me whenever he wanted to. And I thought to myself, at that point, I thought to myself, even if love is over, there must be humanity. Surely. This is a young woman that you took at a tender age of 18, has been with you through thick and thin, a point where you deliver and there's no food, unafunga tumbo na leso, and you're still there. I thought there must be some humanity, just some humanity left. But one day he comes home and he had slept out. This time I am done also. I have packed my things, I've put them there. He walks in, he sees them, and he asks me, what are these? And I say, every day you tell me you don't want me. Now I am ready to leave. Give me money so I may leave. So one thing leads to another, and he's coming to beat me again. I'm sitting at the dining table, and the children are on half-time. And as he comes for me, because I was eating, the first thing I do is pull the chakula, hit him with it. Because the first mechanism you have is to defend yourself, right? So I do it. And it's coming for me, and I think I'm screaming at this particular point. Our son is now in Form 1. They're no longer children. He runs very fast, and he holds his father and pulls him from me, and they go and they fall near the television. I can see how it happened. And then he picks himself again, coming for me. I'm still sitting. I don't even know why he's running. My son stands up again. Our son holds him again. And this time walks with, like they are struggling, but takes him to the corridor and pins him on the wall. And then my son is saying to me, Mama, toka uende. Nilikuambia huyu mtu atakuua. Nilikuambia mtu atakuua, toka uende. And I said, no, I'm not going anywhere, because I had my microphones. I was trying to look for a buyer so I can raise money that I can live with. By that time I'm shaking. And I told my son, no, I'm not going anywhere. This man has misused me since I was young. If he wants to kill me, he will kill me today. And I took my microphone and I started hitting him with it. So then I stop, and he realizes that he cannot get from the clutch of our son. And he tells him, please release me. I'm just going to get my things as I'm going to work. So my son leaves him. He goes and he comes in because my daughter, Lorraine, was sitting down and watching TV, pulls something from the television. And there's a disconnection, and he walks out. And my son comes and connects something else so that she can continue to watch. I call my cousin, who is a lawyer in Mombasa. I tell her what has happened. And she tells me, Hope, pack your things. I'm coming from work. I'm coming to get you. So she comes, and I ask my son and his friends, who are the landlord's sons. They carry my bags, but I only take my daughter, the youngest. We go to her place. And I happen to share with my friend, Tandy, what had happened. And Tandy tells me, Hope, I told you not to go there. I told you to leave that man. He will kill you because his abuses has been too much. And Tandy says, I'm sending you money. And she sends me 7,000 and tells me, can that help? And I say, yes. That will enable me to come to Nairobi as I find my way to Kisumu, because I wanted to go to my mom in Kisumu. My son says that he will remain with the dad because He just joined Form 1. He doesn't want to stay at home while I'm still looking for a job. And it made sense. I told him, are you sure you'll be safe? Because I knew it will be a problem for him. Because he's the one who removed his father from me. And I knew his father, the way he is, he will not take it lightly. But he said he was fine. So I left him. And we traveled the following day, early morning, with my kids to Nairobi. We stayed in Nairobi for around 2 months. My dad, because I was at my dad's, he found money for me, and I went to Kisumu. When I was in Kisumu, things were now very difficult. I'm starting at the beginning again with kids, nothing. You have nothing at all. This is now where you can't even afford a simple pad. You have girls, they need to use it. You yourself, you need to use it. I'm looking for jobs, just trying to put myself together. Then one night, this man calls me, the father of my children. And he's making noise. And he's telling me, this son of yours is fighting me. I don't want him in my house. He said, I don't know what. So I told him, hold on. Kindly call me in a few moments' time. At this time, my son calls and he tells me, my father has been abusing me a lot since you left. I had not been telling you, I thought it would be better, but no, it was not getting better. Whenever he'd come home and he finds there's no sugar in the house, he asks me, why didn't you tell me sugar was not in the house? This is in the morning. When I start answering, he starts punching me and kicking me. He punches me and he kicks me and insults me at the same time. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me? And he said, no, I thought it would get better. He would lock me out. Sometimes I'm from out and I come in. I have nowhere to go. I sleep in the landlord's house because he locked me out. He fractured his arms. And he didn't even take him to the hospital. He left him there. He slept with a fractured hand. His hand was swollen. He was in pain. And when he's telling me this, I don't have even a shilling. And I'm asking myself, God, what am I going to do? He slept with it. And I asked him, would you like me to talk to him? And he said, no, I don't want anything to do with that man. He said he's not my father, and I'm not his son. And he said he doesn't want to see me ever. I want to come to you. I said, okay, just give me a moment. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And then I see a message on my phone. And there's this guy who saw a music I had posted on YouTube. Ukinipenda leo nitakupenda pia. And he had started communicating. And he would send me sometimes 3,000, 4,000, you know. And that time, he sent me money. And I opened my WhatsApp and he said, Happy Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day. And he told me, I've sent you something for Mother's Day. And actually, that's the last time I heard from him. I can't even remember his name. And I believed that was godly sent. So I called my son and I said, tomorrow I'm sending you money. It was sent by Standard Bank. So I had to go and withdraw the money. I went, I withdrew the money. I sent my son money for the hospital. I told him, go and buy a bag. Hata ile ya nini, Ghana must go. Then I called the father and I told the father, kindly allow him to pick up some of his clothes because I don't have money for buying clothes. And the father told me, oh, so it is you who has been encouraging him. You will see what is coming to you. And I asked him, you want me to leave him to become chokora? You didn't have a job for the longest, and I took care of you. Now you want me to leave my son in the cold the way you did? I said, no, no, no. Whether he is bad, he is good. He is my son. Let him come to me. So my son came, and he joined school. And God was very faithful. I got a job, and life started being better for us. I rented a 2-bedroom house. My children started having at least a life, where just a normal life now. And this particular time we've entered our house, we are sitting down. When we start living, just the way I started with him, tulilala chini kwa sakafu. We took clothes, put on our head, and our son, my mom gave me a small mattress, is where he used to sleep. Here again, I started like that. We slept down until I was buying things. And at this particular time, when he chased my son, it didn't take even 2 weeks. Not even 2 days. The girlfriend was in the house with her children. And the landlady is the one who called me to tell me this. It didn't even take 2 days. It was hard for the kids especially, because the lady would take pictures on the seats, things, and post them, and they were following their father. I blocked him a long time ago because I didn't want stress, really. And at this particular time, everything I worked hard for was taken away from me. When Corona came, it hit hard on my industry because I'm a musician. And by this time, I was actually selling essential oils that I was getting from Uganda and some few things from China. And when we had a lockdown for 8 months, everything came to a stop. I used all I had to try and run the house, hoping things will come back together. My landlord was not really understanding. So in last year, when it came to the 8th month, we moved out back to the village at my mom's. Practically now we became homeless again. And even when they opened school, my daughter didn't report, the one in Form 2, because I couldn't afford it. I had no job, nothing. And I had a Class 8 and a Form 4 student. I had 2 candidates. And they passed well. Yeah, and that's it. We are at a point where there's nothing. There are no jobs, there's nothing. And I'm even wondering, people cannot even, call for functions or something. Yeah, so that's where we are. We remained at a point where we're hoping for the best, I guess. Because I believe we are adults and people make their decision. And for me, it's about healing and it's about my children. And if he chose, people divorce. It's not something new. And if he chose that he was going to divorce his children too, well and good. There's nothing I can do about it, And for me, it was just about to heal and my children also to heal, because I don't want my children to be in pain. So him is moved on completely, and he's taking care of his wife and his wife's children, and maybe they have their own right now. I'm not sure. I'm not really bothered. I don't want to be poisonous, but at the same time, I have nothing good to say. And I don't want to pretend either, And this is why we started our channel, our YouTube channel with my kids. So we can just have our fun and do, and even on my channel, I have not mentioned him. And what is important to me right now is the well-being of my children. Yeah, I think if I could do this all over again, I, first of all, wouldn't engage in relationship at a young age. I don't think I would date someone who is trying to find themselves because they don't know who they are. Because you don't know who they are. If someone doesn't know who they are, then you definitely don't know who they are. And you may be surprised who they really are once they know who they are. And at this particular time, I think I became his practice wife. But at the same time, it was my life. My life was not for practice, because I feel like it almost destroyed me. I'm still trying to put my pieces together. And I think the best thing that ever happened to me was the breakup, when I left completely, because I got to have a relationship with me and with my God. And as much as I may be in a difficult time sometimes, but I'm very happy. I have the peace of mind, and I know who I am, and I know what I want in life, and I'm not mixing these things up. I want a place where my children could call home. I don't want one time we are seeking refuge here, we're seeking refuge there. I don't want that, because I see my children suffering through this. I don't want that. So my big wish in life is just to find stability and to watch my children finish their education so that one day they can give back to their community. They are children that have been through most, and they still have love in their heart. They don't even talk bad about their father. They don't. So I know they have love in their heart. And I know one day, if they're in a position, they will give back, because they know what lack is.